Good morning, everybody. It's Robert Holmes here, and I've got to tell you, today is an exciting day for me. I have an opportunity to meet with someone I think you all are going to really enjoy his story and his background, what he has to do for a living, and the great things that he brings to our community here in Columbus, Ohio, and beyond. Welcome, Mr. Matt Kuchers.
Hello. Hi, Robert.
Good morning. So Matt and I have known each other not real long, probably 6 months or so, and we've gotten to know each other and at probably a pretty deep level. And I love that. I love the conversations that we have. We challenge each other, and that's what leaders are supposed to do for each other. And so I thought we'd spend some time today just kind of getting to know Matt, getting to know what he does, and which is really a neat occupation, and then kind of get a background and feel for him as a leader, and I think we'll all learn from that. So Matt, first off, kind of tell everybody what it is that you do for a living, and not just what your title is, but what is it you do day to day?
Day to day. Well, let me just say I've been on staff with an organization called CRU, or Campus Crusade for Christ, for 36, 37 years, specifically with a branch, the athletic arm, Athletes in Action. And now I'm kind of in a hybrid position with them. But what I do every day, one way to describe it, after looking back, I would say that on the college campus, in the marketplace, in the community, I have an opportunity to influence influencers, whether it's on the college campus, which is a critical audience because they're in that formative stage, asking questions. Or they're in the marketplace community where they've more developed, really helping them understand life from their creator's point of view, from how they were designed. Does life make sense without the reality of a God who loves them and paid a high price to purchase them with his blood? So we could talk more about that. But anyway, that's what I get to do. I get to influence influencers and get in front of them. Yep.
No, I love that. That's a great way to put it. Influence influencers, and that's what a great opportunity you have to obviously hone your skills, at the same time take some people that are in really powerful positions. You've got a network that I see around you that is pretty strong, and you have a great opportunity to breathe into them the word of truth, which is great. It's great. So where did you grow up?
I'm from Toledo, Ohio, specifically Sylvania. Yep. And once I left for college, really never moved back. Yeah. So I've been more in Central Ohio. But yeah, Toledo, Ohio, Sylvania.
God, how long you been in Central Ohio?
Oh boy, probably 42 years, something like that. 42 years. Well, no, excuse me, probably more like 40 years. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a long time. So you obviously a Buckeye fan.
Yes, wasn't when I got here
Really?
Years ago in 1983. Because I lived on the border of Michigan, right, Ohio, Michigan, and so I'm leaning either way. But once because I had no allegiance to any team, I was easily taken in. And I mean, I lived 2 blocks away from the stadium when I originally came to Ohio, down to Columbus. Excuse me. Yeah, it was easy. Got sucked in easily.
Yeah, and now you're highly integrated with the team, right? And coaches and
yeah. So it's kind of fun.
It is fun. All right. So what about family? Tell us about your magnificent family. I know you've got a crew there.
We Boo, Elizabeth. Her maiden name's Elizabeth Hill, but her nickname's Boo, Boo. And she and I met actually through our organization through the 80s. And we have 4 kids, 3 boys, and then our little girl. And we have lived we took a 4-year hiatus, or a 4-year stint in Chicago in the early 90s, moved there and then came back. And so we've been here all those years. My kids are all adults now. So early 30s to mid 20s. Yep.
Excellent. All right, let's do the rewind game. We're going to rewind way back to 1995. I like to say that 1995. It makes it sound really like a long time ago. Where were you and what were you doing?
You know, it's interesting. That's a great year because that's when we moved back here from Chicago. We lived in Chicago. Where we were directing the work, the ministry at Northwestern University, and we came back here, centrally located to Delaware, Ohio, and we began this long work. So we had already been involved with LSU prior to that in the 80s, left for Chicago, came back and dug back into the Ohio State University and the Central Ohio influence. So that's where we were raising. Our kids were at that great age. I mean, they were, just either in 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, somewhere pre-teen years. Just a great time. So, yeah.
That is a great time for sure. And then they get to be in those teenage years, which I'm in right now. I've got an 18 and 17-year-old, and love them to death. But holy cow, I can't. The toughest time to influence ever. And it's funny because I practiced for lots of years. When I was in Georgia, I went to a church called Hope Church. And so I did the youth ministry there, and I specifically said I'm going to go with 11th and 12th grade boys because I knew that transition time is so challenging in their lives, right? Yeah. And so for years I did that 11th, 12th grade ministry, and I thought, man, I'm prepared for my boys. I got this. You're right. They don't want to listen to me. They don't want to listen to me, but it's all good, right? We point them in the right direction. We give them the right foundation of truth, and hope they get to where they need to get, right?
I agree. Get there. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask a question. You came back from Chicago into Central Ohio. You got locked in with the Buckeyes and started to do some great things there. Would you say that you had a plan, or would you say that it just kind of happened?
So I would say that I had a vision. I'm mostly I mostly kind of see what needs to happen. I'm a guy that, like so many, I would say more entrepreneurial in mindset is I see what's not there. And so when I came back, clearly understood that the Buckeyes were sort of the Mount Olympus of Ohio. If you want to influence influencers, as I mentioned earlier, man, the Buckeyes, the football Buckeyes in particular, but the Buckeyes are easy leverage. And so it was more of a, what's it gonna take to get there? And it wasn't necessarily a step-by-step thing. It was just figure it out as you go, figure it out, stay at it, change, adapt, and keep going, and learning, make mistakes. And that's what you do. My job is a people job. It's people business. So make a lot of mistakes and kind of probably blow a few relationships in between, which is not my intention, but it just happens. So.
Yeah. So of course, and you're right. I mean, what you do is a people job. You're a people person. I mean, that's who you are. You've got a great personality and are a magnet, right? And you're in the perfect role for what you're doing. I love the influencers thing. I've never heard you say that before, but
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, amazing. I've never heard it, but that's a great way to phrase the whole thing. And I think you and I are very similar from that standpoint. I think that as much as I like to get into the details and the plan and structure all of that for businesses and so on and so forth, from my life, right? I vision where I want to be and just move in that direction. And as long as we have the end goal in mind, right? I think you and I are the type of person that are going to continually take steps to get there, whether they're big steps or minute steps every day. We're moving in that direction because we've got it painted in our head where we want to go.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. So if you're like me, you've probably had some tremendous mentors in your life, guys that have supported you, guys or girls that have supported you along the way and influenced you to make you the influence of influencers that you are today. Tell me about some of those people and who they are and maybe what they've done to get you where you are.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I think the older you get, the more seasoned in life you get, the more you do look back and ask yourself how you got here. And I would say, really, I count my 5th grade teacher, Mr. Reif, who had just 1 year with me. He identified that I was an athlete, even though I was a chubby, I had a crew cut, I wasn't very good looking, and he said, "Yeah, but kid, you're a good athlete." That helped my confidence. And I really had this awakening. From there, college, into college, a couple of student friends who helped me identify, recognize, awaken to my spiritual core, a relationship with God. Jeff Gwynn, John Watkins, both kind of coached me in my faith. And then this guy with crew staff, a guy named Roger Hershey, pretty popular in our circles. Man, he put me under his wing like a father and coached me along. And when I came on staff with crew, had guys like Carl Clayton and Jim Schmidtke, so many men. And as of late, I would say Tim Kite. He's more of a passive mentor, guy that's bringing me into a whole new renaissance in my understanding of what it means to have this relationship with God in this world, in the midst of this world. But I want to make sure I say with my father, because my father and I, we butt heads like crazy. I mean, we are like rams. And but the truth is, in his unorthodox way, he has had an influence on me. And I'm pensive and I pause a lot to think, wow, I think my father had that kind of influence. So, Dad, if you're listening, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you and I are very much in the same shoes, I think, from that standpoint. My dad and I don't necessarily butt heads. Well, we don't. So we are polar opposites and have been forever, and polar opposites in the way we think and the way we act. And so there's times where I think, has he influenced me, and you look back and I say, yeah, whether it was intentional or unintentional, right, he has absolutely influenced me, I see it in myself, and my wife sees it in me as well. She'll call me out and say, you sound just like your dad right there, and and it's right. She's right. She's absolutely right. So, all right, so let's talk about 2020. 2020 is quite a unique year so far. And so tell me about what you've learned so far. What lesson do you think you've had in the first half of this year that you think stands out to you?
Yeah. To my shame, I would say that I've discovered that I am not as disciplined as I really thought I was. And that's kind of exposed me. And I think, I think even my wife would say, oh, no, that's not true. But I'm thinking, no, I'm not a very disciplined guy. And this has thrown everybody for a loop. So it's getting creative and trying to create new habits that are productive. So that would be, to me, that's the most, I don't feel alone, by the way, but that would be the most, that would be the thing I'm learning the most. And the reason I say I'm not alone is I talk to coaches, I think of these guys, a lot of these guys are just so disciplined to work these teams. Man, they're saying the same, that it's just throwing them for a loop. How do I handle my time? So yeah, this idea of creating new habits, being creative, and trying to be as productive as possible. I fear getting lazy. I just fear this idea of idle. And I'm hoping that motivates me to to continue to persevere, work hard, and actually ramp up my game. So anyway, bro, that's where I'd be. That would be where I am.
It's interesting to hear you say that, because what I know of you and certainly what I see of you does not show me that you're not disciplined. So I'm with your wife on that standpoint. What do you attach in discipline to? What is it that you're saying that this is where I'm lacking?
Well, here's a very concrete picture. I think is athletes and you guys, you influencers of the marketplace, you're very available, and so the fact is, I could be just maxing out my calendar with one-on-one phone calls, one-on-one Zoom calls, but what I found is that I'm exhausted. I take a whole day and I do that, and it's like, dude, do I want to do that tomorrow? I could set up a whole nother round, and I could go and have 8-10 phone calls a day, and I think I'm exhausted. So that's where I kind of kick myself, because I'm thinking, push yourself, boy, push yourself hard, but I also find that I get brain weary. It's like, wow, okay, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. So
yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I would look at it.
So you see it as lack of discipline. I see it as lack of caffeine. You need more coffee.
Really? Okay, here I am. Hello.
Oh, that's good. Good stuff. All right. So tell me about the greatest success you've had in the last 5 years.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to cheat here for a minute. I was looking at, yeah, I don't want to miss this. The truth is, Robert, I could point to, I'll tell you one of the things that I would say occupationally or vocationally that I'm very excited about is the MI3. It's the Men of Influence, Influencing Influencers. I'm really excited about that, but I don't think I've even tapped the potential of what can happen there. I'm still in training. I'm still working on it. But let me say this. I think the truth is, I'm hoping my wife's hearing. The truth is, my greatest success is I married well. I married a godly woman who's patient with me. I married a woman who's humble, but also has um, she has a backbone. She's stubborn and a good stubborn, but boy, she repents on a dime. And I know I'm using language. In other words, she changes her mind and admits she owns her stuff. I have great kids, and that's because of Boo, because of my wife. But I would say, yeah, these 5 years, this is when all the kids moved into their careers, and I'm very proud of them. Most three of the four actually came on staff with our ministry,
Wow.
which is no easy endeavor. You have to raise this big amount of financial support from individuals, churches, organizations. They all did that. Two of them have now transitioned to other jobs, other roles, and not on staff. And then my daughter is overseas with Crew in Montenegro, Campus Crusade for Christ in Montenegro. So, yeah, I mean, I would be really remiss if I talked about my exploits as far as the accomplishments. I'm very excited about what I'm doing. So excited. But truth, as I get older, I think I'm so proud of those kids. God has been very good to us. Our kids are all walking with the Lord, and so
That's
yeah,
great. That's great. That's
yeah,
good. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So what's the biggest challenge you've had in the last 5 years?
yeah. So thanks for asking that. The so hand in hand with that, I just talked about how proud we are of our kids. And this does hold true, but our oldest son and his wife, and now we have grandchildren. The greatest challenge, I would say, the greatest loss in our everyday life is the fact that we have our oldest son who's walked away from our family, and we're not in touch with him, and that's been about a 5 going on to 6 year endeavor. Heartbreaking. It's not just Boo and I. He's walked away. He's married. He would say that he is very involved in his faith, um, but it's. I don't want to go into too much detail. It has been the most gut wrenching thing, and it's not something that we get over. It's just an everyday loss for us.
Yeah.
So yeah, hard, very very hard. I have two grandkids, maybe three. We don't know them. Yeah, we just don't know them. Yeah, hard, everyday loss.
So,
Yeah,
well, all we can do is look to the future and hope that that repairs itself and God speaks to him and all comes
yep.
together the way it's supposed to be. So, and I'm
You
sure
know, just
that's His will. It will happen, right?
yeah. And I was going to say one of the things Boo and I quickly learned from this. It's like this makes everything okay, but it definitely, when we hear stories of people's families, we were pretty oblivious to this. We got three other kids who are just, man, spot on, right? We got this one, and who's just it's just a tragedy for us. But it's opened our hearts and our experience. We feel now when people talk to us about their kids or losses, divorces, we feel it as opposed to just acknowledging it. It's like, oh my gosh, yeah. So I would say that's, as much as it's tragic, it's also like, well, we've gained a great deal. We'd still like to have in our family.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
All right. So if you had the opportunity to do anything over again, right? Anything you've done, what would it be, and what would you do differently?
Okay. So I'm going to say the lesser, and then I have another one,
Okay.
another idea. If I would have known as a college student, sometimes I dream about this. If I would have known as a college student what I understand now about this great story, the biblical story, um, which is the book of life, the Bible. If I would have understood that our vocation is the primary means by which God intends to do his, bring, if you will, his personal work here and to change our 20 square feet. If I would have understood that rather than just trying to help, or in addition to helping people come to have a relationship with God, I may have been in the marketplace. I won't go into the detail. I may have, but I didn't know that, and now I know that. And that may sound really vague, but it's an important piece. I would say this to all the dads out there. This would be the bigger piece. I noticed when my kids as adults are looking back, they're starting to have their own children, our grandkids. Um, I've noticed that they remember their mother and her involvement in their lives more than they remember my involvement in their lives. And I coach their sports. I mean, I was drive them all over the state, if not into, the region. We spent a heck of a lot of time, but it's like, I don't remember much about that, but I remember when mom would tuck us in every night. If I could go back and do it again, I would pull my butt out of my office and stop working and just go, I'm going to go and pray with the kids, kiss them, sing a song or whatever. I would do that in a heartbeat. So our dads, don't miss that. The kids just seem to remember. I remember mom used to have this prayer, I was like, and sometimes I'd be their kids, yeah, I don't remember that, Dad. Yeah.
Mm.
That's
No,
what I would do.
that's a really good one, and I can tell you that I share a little bit of that with you for sure, and there are probably lots of dads do, but you're right, and I would have been blessed, my whole life to be able to, be the sole provider and Jen be home with the kids the entire time, which has created a challenge in itself in our relationship, right? Because that's a lot to carry. It's a lot to carry for
Yeah.
her, and so. There were often times where there was, some challenges between us because she felt like she was doing it all. And at the same time, there's this bond that's happening between her and the boys that just there's no possible way that I could ever have that same bond because
Yeah.
it's just not there as
Yeah.
much, right? And so,
Yeah.
so you're right, finding those little important moments that the kids will remember, like tucking in or praying, right? Those things are key. Boy, I'd like to have that as a do-over as well. Good one. Good one.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to let you know that this is a very special show, right? And the people that are watching this are looking at Matt and saying, "Hey, I really think this guy is tremendous, and these things that he's saying are near and dear to my heart." And so, if I was going to say to you, what can you say right now to have the biggest influence on the young people in the world? And you do this every day, right, on the campuses of the universities local here in Mid Ohio. What is the most important thing you can say to the young kids today?
Yeah. And again, I love your questions. There's a lot of things that I do say, and I probably don't get to say it this bluntly, but I think the piece that if everybody wants to make a difference, everybody wants to be somebody, that tag or that reality, nobody wants to be invisible, nobody wants to be a nobody, everybody wants to be a somebody. And the way we go about trying to accomplish that, so there's my in a lot of times with the kids is, the college students, because they're the great athlete, they want to put their name on something. But this is what I would say, Robert, and very, very simply, take responsibility for your own life. Stop blaming. This is not my line, but stop blaming others, complaining about your circumstances or others, and defending bad behavior. Take responsibility for your life. Own your life. The most important 20 square feet you in the world is the one you're standing on. So take responsibility. Quit it when you're trying to change the world around you and you're not regarding how much you need to change yourself. That would be what I would say. I would just say, stop it, stop it, stop it. Stop BCDing, blaming, complaining, defending. Own your life. Take responsibility.
I got it.
Stop
Right.
BCDing.
BCD.
Yep.
Love it.
Yeah. And again, that's not my line, but
Love it.
yeah, things change. Things will change around you, and things will change in you if you own your life. Own it. So that's
Oh,
what I'd say.
love it.
Yeah.
Good advice. Good advice. All right, so we're going to close this with 3 questions. Close it all the time with the same 3 questions. The first one is, what do you think makes a great leader?
Yeah, again, I'm stealing here from other people's material, but I think trust. I think when you're trying to bring people, move people from one spot to another, they need to trust you. And while that's as much relational, there's that relational piece. I trust you, the individual. I trust, though, your function, the work that you do is evidence of that. And then I trust your character. And I think trust. So it's your character, your competence, how you work, how well you work, how good you are at what you do, and your connection, how your relationship. So trust. I think if you're trying to get people to move and move in a healthy direction, they can move, but they'll follow you if they trust you. Yep, if they
Oh, that's
trust you.
good. They'll follow you if they trust you. Very good. All
Yep.
right, so who do you think the best leader in history was ever?
Yeah, I don't think it's probably any surprise here after all the little, uh, you know, things I've been saying. I would say it's the person of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I and I there's just one moment I remember being. I don't know that I was a staunch atheist, but I had very little regard for God and Jesus Christ until I read something somebody shared with me, which is when Jesus said, "I am the way and the truth and the life." And the way I interpreted it was, I thought, "Oh my gosh, he's the pipeline. He's the conduit that I'm supposed to figure out how life works." So I would say Jesus, and he is trustworthy, perfect, and he makes sense of life. Yeah.
Yeah, good one. Good one for sure. All right, so when it's all said and done, right? All said and done, and it's all over with for Matt, and he's on to the next world, into the greatness of heaven. What happens here on earth? What are people saying? What do you want them to say about you?
Yeah. Love this question. So I was thinking about this. You know the expression when you bump into something, or you bruise your thigh or you bruise your arm or whatever, and you say, "Man, that's going to leave a mark. That's going to leave a mark." And I think, you know what? I hope. I was thinking about all this stuff, and I think, I hope I leave a dent. I hope I leave a dent. And that with multiple people in multiple scenarios, circumstances, or institutions, or whatever, they would say, he definitely left a dent. And I hope it's for good, not for bad. I want to leave a dent in this world.
I
That's what I
love
would say.
that. I love that. Leave a dent. All right, Matt. Well, look, I appreciate your time today, and you always inspire me. I think about you and what you do every day, and I just think there's got to be such a tremendous level of satisfaction. As challenging as your job may be, as your role may be, I can hardly even look at it as a job, right? You're out there doing what you love to do, and I'm sure that it's different when you're in your shoes, right? But I look at it and I say, man, how satisfying that has to be, because the reality is this. Um, and you say it, right? Your vocation is kind of where God wants you, and where you're supposed to do your work, and how he's supposed to work through you in the world. The reality is, I oftentimes find myself, working hard to achieve something that is not, that does not have eternal significance, right? And when I find some level of influence that I've put on somebody else, whether it's the book and someone reads my book and then they get it, right, and they see the bigger picture of the message there, and they send me a note, and I just feel so satisfied that I know that I had, to your point, right, put a little dent in their heart, right, and said, this is so, for you and what you do. I thank you so much for it, and you've got to have this level of satisfaction. I'm 100% certain that in your shoes it's challenging. It's extremely challenging. But at the same time, so incredibly satisfying to know you, and to see you do your work, and see the influence that you have on the folks that I've seen around you. So thanks for all that you do, and I hope that you and I continue to build our relationship together, and grow and challenge each other to become better leaders all around.
Hey, Robert, thanks for this opportunity, and thank you for your book, because I do think that's your story. I know you have much more to your story, but I know that that has been incredibly compelling, and it speaks a heart language where it's clearly piercing and penetrating people's reality. Man, there's nothing better. That it's not like this fairy tale. It's real substance. So thank you for that book. Thanks for this opportunity. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you. Thanks so much, and we'll see you soon.
All right, bro. We'll see you. Bye.
Thanks.